Hello, Crystal here at the Nacogdoches Public Library, and you're cooking with yours truly. This week we're going to make Greek meatballs, and I hope that you're able to follow along. If you are attending the live viewing of this video, afterwards we'll have a chat if you have any questions. Enjoy!
So we're going to start off with ground beef. You can also do a mixture of beef and lamb, or lamb and pork and beef, whatever you prefer. This one just happens to be just a pound of ground beef. And I'm adding onions, garlic, and parsley. You can just add a small onion or medium-sized onion, whatever you prefer there as well. You can leave the garlic out or add more. You don't need parsley, but it does give it a little green for freshness. And then I'm going to put in half a cup of breadcrumbs and about a half a cup, maybe a quarter of a cup of crumbled feta cheese. Back to the onions really quickly, I want to mention that in order to get them really finely diced, I just use a food processor. You can even just really mince them up really fine. I don't like huge chunks of onion in my meatballs, but that's another personal preference thing. And since I was using the food processor, I just tossed in the parsley and garlic as well. And then for a pound of meat, I'm going to use 1 egg. And then I'm going to add about a tablespoon of dried oregano. Remember, we used this last time. It's very common. Same thing with the feta. And then I'm going to use some ground black pepper. And I like a lot of that. And some sea salt will come next. And one of the key things to remember about making meatballs is you don't want to overwork them. You just want to get everything combined so that it's all incorporated evenly, but you don't want to then keep messing with the meat too much because that could make your meatballs tough. So I'm just going to go in with my hands and really get that mixture blended in together. Don't be afraid to get in there. Once all the ingredients are well incorporated, I'm just going to give it a once over, make sure it's all uniform, and then I'm going to start to roll the meatballs. A pound of meat will make about 18 meatballs if they're just a little over 1 inch in diameter. You can use an ice cream scoop or cookie scoop or something like that if you would like to. You can even use something to measure the weight if you want to make sure that they're all uniform. I make meatballs a lot, and I don't care if they're a tiny bit different in size, so I'm just going to roll them out by hand. Now it's time to cook the meatballs. I'm going to fry mine in olive oil over a medium heat so that they don't cook too quickly. It takes a little bit longer just to make sure that they're cooked all the way through, but it's worth the time. You can also bake these on a baking sheet at 375 to 400. I like to line a baking sheet with parchment paper to do that. And with the baking, you'll want to turn them over about halfway through. Depending on how your oven works, it could take anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes. But you want to check them as you're going along if you're not sure. And if you're frying them in oil, like I'm doing here, you want to do them in batches. You don't want to crowd the pan because that will cool it down too much. And so these are the last few that I'm working on. And I want to make sure that they're nice and evenly browned on all sides. So I like to turn them pretty frequently. That will also help them keep their round shape. So if you let them sit too long on one side, then it can flatten down on that side. Not that that's a problem. They'll still taste great. But if you want them to be a little more round and uniform, then just keep them moving a little bit. Some people like to fry their meatballs on the stovetop and then pop them into the oven to finish cooking. especially if you're using larger meatballs, but these are pretty small, so I'm just going to finish them off on the stovetop. Probably only takes about 10 minutes per batch, and I did about 2.5 batches in this smallish pan that I'm using. And that's all there is to it. As a bonus, I'm going to show you how to make a really quick and easy and delicious tahini sauce. Next week, you'll learn how to make tzatziki, which is also a great accompaniment for meatballs, but here's a quick rundown on how to make this sauce. You're going to start with tahini, like we used last week, about 1/2 cup. And again, it doesn't look super great just out of the jar, but trust me, the flavor is spectacular. Then you're going to add freshly squeezed lemon, about 1/2 cup. I'm just eyeballing this. You'll find that I do that a lot in my cooking, but it also depends on your personal preference. A lot of times in these kind of recipes, it's whether you prefer a lot of lemon or whether you prefer more richness from the sesame paste, the tahini, or how much garlic you like. As you can see here, I'm planning on adding 4 cloves of raw garlic. A lot of people don't like that, but I think that really adds a lot to it. After I add the lemon juice, I'm just going to whisk it together with the tahini paste and get it going. And you can see that it comes together, it kind of seizes up and it becomes pretty thick. So it doesn't look super great right now, but trust me, once we get to the final product, you're going to really find this to be appetizing. Now I'm just going to press some garlic cloves. You can also mince the garlic, but I prefer to press it because I want it to be more like a paste than small pieces. Even though I love garlic, I don't like getting a huge chunk of raw garlic in anything, and I think probably most people will agree. But there's lots of different ways that you can do this. Once the garlic is in there, I'm going to add some cumin, and again, that's to your taste. It's a nice smoky flavor, but you don't have to add a whole lot of that. And then, because it's still really thick, I'm just going to add some water. And I'll add a little water, whisk it in, add a little more. I don't want it to be too runny, and I don't want it to be thick or chunky. So take your time, just go a little bit at a time so that you can get it to the consistency that you like. This is a sauce that would be great just to dip the meatballs in. You could also make a meatball pita and use this as the sauce inside. Either way, I think you're going to find this is really delicious. And so here's the final dish. And I'm just going to, in this case, dollop some of the tahini sauce over the top and enjoy these just as they are. I hope that you enjoy this recipe, and I hope that you will find that it's as easy as I think it is. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to send me a message, email me. If you're watching this with our live recording, then we're about to have a chat. So if you have any questions, feel free to bring those to our discussion. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.